Good afternoon, everyone. How are you? I've been side-eyeing the rain all day, so I'm glad that it has held out. We'll have to be our own sunshine today. But thank you all for coming out. My name is Elisa Gums. I'm the Vice President and Deputy Chief Content Officer at Black Enterprise, and I oversee all of our women's content, including our Women of Power franchise for women executives and our Sisters Inc. franchise for women entrepreneurs. This is our very first time having a Women of Power event on the Vineyard. You all made it look so lovely, we could not stay away. So here we are to fellowship with you and are joined by our friends at Manulife, John Hancock. So I see so many familiar faces from the Women of Power events, yes. Thank you for coming. It's always great to see you, and there's a lot of new faces as well. So if you're not familiar with Women of Power, we're best known for our Women of Power Summit. It's a 3-day professional development conference for Black women in corporate America that we've been doing for almost 2 decades now. And you can put it on your calendars because it's March 27th to 30th, 2024. We will be back in Las Vegas. But in addition to that, we've got a women's channel on blackenterprise.com. We have women's pages on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. And we've got video series, we've got a newsletter. So we're doing everything we can to make sure that we are celebrating everything that you are and everything that you do. And today we're going to have a very important conversation. But to tell you how important it is, I'm going to bring on our friend, Michelle Teller-Jones. She is the Global Chief Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Officer at Manulife, John Hancock. Please welcome Michelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is so amazing to see all these beautiful Black women on Martha's Vineyard, and the sun came out. So hats off to that. So excited to be with you. I don't know how many of you are familiar with Manulife, John Hancock. Manulife is a Canadian-based company in Toronto. And our U.S. business is John Hancock, and I'm sure you are all familiar with that brand. And so I joined Manulife about, I'm going to say 3 years, because September 21st will be my 3-year anniversary. Started in COVID. And I remember when I got the call after being at Dell Technologies for over 16 years and prior to that EMC, and I thought to myself, it's COVID. Why would I leave a comfortable situation and take a chance? And I had a conversation with them. It wasn't an interview, it was a conversation. And I have to tell you, it was the easiest conversation I ever had. And what I always say is, God always tells you when it's right because it's easy. And it was easy, and it was the right decision for me. And so I came on board. It was painting from a blank slate, which is something that I like to do. And one of the first things I did was I thought about, as Manulife needed to elevate their brand, what are some organizations that would be a great opportunity to introduce to Manulife? And Black Enterprise was the first relationship that I thought about. Because I have a 20-year relationship with Black Enterprise. It's a known brand. It's a respected brand. It's a brand for us, by us. And when we get in positions that we have influence and opportunity to support our own, that's exactly what we need to do. And so I'm so grateful that we are here and Manulife has an opportunity to share with you this afternoon. I am going to introduce Yolanda and give this opportunity back to Elisa, where they will have a conversation that will share with you about Yolanda's journey and more about Manulife and what we have to offer, and then we can fellowship. But thank you in advance for being here, and welcome.
And this really is a tea. We do have tea, ladies. If you want some iced tea or some hot tea, please grab some while we chat. So for everyone who's not familiar yet with Yolanda, she was one of the speakers at this year's Women of Power Summit. She's an awesome expert, an awesome speaker. She's the Vice President of Strategic Relationship Management and Consulting. But there were so many ways you could have gone with your career, and you chose finance for a very good reason. Can you share?
Sure. So nobody as a little child says, hey, I want to work in finance or I want to work in retirement. So that definitely wasn't my dream. When I went to college, I wanted to be a lawyer. And I said, okay, well, at our school, there was no pre-law. You had to major in one of the core subjects and then go to law school. So I decided to major in business. And then I said, marketing's pretty easy. I think I can do that. I don't want to do accounting, hate economics. Finance, I know nothing about that. Let me try this field where I have no knowledge in and learn something new. So that's what led me on to finance. And after like my second year, I had a boyfriend in college, and we argued a lot. And I said, hey, I don't want to argue with somebody every day for work. I'm not going to be a lawyer anymore. So then I decided to continue down the route with finance. And in that field, what amazed me was I had an investing class. And we had to invest in the stock market paper trades. And what I saw was we competed in a competition. And our portfolio, we returned about 5 or 10% during the semester, which I thought was pretty great. But the group that won, they had a 300% return on their portfolio. And I like to ask questions. So I said, what did you guys do? What did you invest in? What strategies did you use? And I started to learn about investing and really making your money work for you. And from there, I said, this is what I want to do, because no matter what field you're in, you need to learn how to work with money. You need to make sure you're making your money grow. And then from there, you can do anything that you want to do. And that's how I decided to continue with finance. And when I graduated from college, I'm from St. Louis, Missouri. That's where I grew up for the majority of my life. I know somebody from KC Mo. So I went back home and I went to work for a financial services organization there. And at that particular company, you were voluntold a lot about what you're going to do. And they said, hey, you're going to come and work in retirement. And I knew nothing about retirement other than I wanted to retire at some point, right? So I figured this would be a good field for me to go into. And from there, I just got certifications and I learned more. And what really just catapulted me. So I had the opportunity to, after I left that company, I worked for another organization. And I worked with individuals, face to face, sitting down with them, having conversations about their retirement account, how much they're saving, what are they investing in? Are we looking at stocks, bonds, mutual funds, and so forth? And what I would see is that when I would work with individuals of a lighter hue, right? When I work with them for the most part, they would say, okay, I'm not prepared for retirement. And when I would sit down with them and look at their account, they would have $1.5 million in their account. They had 7-figure numbers, and they were concerned about being prepared for retirement. So I would still advise them and give them more strategies how they can increase their account, increase their wealth, and continue to make it grow. And then when I would sit down with our family, I would look and see. And I remember meeting with this lady, and she said, I haven't checked my account in years. I said, well, let's check in and see what we have to do. And we looked at her account. She had $20,000 in there, and she was in her 50s. And she said, I'm rich. I'm rich. I can't believe I have so much money in there. And then that's when I decided that that conversation about wealth needed to change, and I needed to do something about it. And then it moved me into my next phase of my career, which is what I do now, helping plan sponsors or organizations design a retirement plan to impact their employees to make sure they're saving enough.
I love that you said that money is all about being able to do what you want, because money can be a difficult conversation. Some people may not think it's, island vacation conversation. But I love the approach we're taking today, which is that, we love to be carefree and unbothered. That's what I aim to be at all times. And in order to do that, you have to be the one in control of your money, and you have to learn how to make your money work for you. So what would you tell the women out there about how they can achieve that?
So in terms of making your money work for you, we want to start baby steps. So I'll take you guys through a journey. Number one, make sure that you are budgeting, right? You have to know what's coming in, but most importantly, what's going out. Because from there, you have a solid foundation, and you have to know where your starting point is. And then from there, you want to take an assessment of credits. If you have debt, let's look at doing that. So Federal Reserve raised interest rates last month. They're looking at raising interest rates again next month. Do you guys know what the federal funds rate is? I don't want to get too technical on you, but it's at about 5.5%, which means that any institution that lends money to us, whether it's a bank, a credit union, their rates is 5.5 that they may charge to each other. And they have to charge a premium on top of that so they get money from you. So for those of you who are looking at your credit cards, right, those are variable interest rates. So as the federal funds rates increase, the credit card rates increase. So it moves from 13 to 15 to 27 and so forth. So debt, let's look at taking care of that, especially if you have high interest rate debt. Then from there, we want to look at savings, right? Saving, and then really let's start with savings. So emergency fund, making sure that you have 3 to 6 months of emergency funds saved up. But we keep hearing this R word coming around, the recession that may be coming. And especially in this climate that we are in now, I say bump it out to 8 to 12 months to make sure that should something happen, you're covered, right? Then after that, after we have our budgeting done, we're taking care of debt, we have our emergency fund. Every dollar from there needs to be your employee. Every dollar needs to go out and work for you and bring a return back. Because a lot of us get stuck at that saving point where I met with individuals that say, hey, I want to save $50,000. I want to save $100,000. Okay, that's great. What's next? Well, I just want to make sure I'm comfortable and I have this money in my account. But that money isn't working for you. You're missing out on that opportunity. Have your emergency fund, and every dollar, what is your every dollar after that? It's your employee. We want that money to bring a return. Then from there, we're going to look at our 401k plan, making sure that we are, at the very least, getting the match. Do you guys know what your employer offers for a match? Most of us do, right? Making sure we're at least getting that match in our 401k plan. And I'm going to just stay right here for a little bit because I work in the retirement plan world, right? So the maximum that you can put into a retirement plan in a year right now, does anybody know what that number is? It's $22,500 if you're under the age of 50. And if you're over the age of 50, it's an additional $7,500. So if you're over 50, it's $30,000. That's what you can put in the retirement plan from your paycheck. But the total amount that can go into a retirement plan is $66,000 for this year. So that includes the money that you put in and the money that your employer puts in. And there are a lot of ways where you can add additional money into the plan outside of that $22,500 that it's worth having a conversation. Whoever your retirement provider is, get to know the details of your plan, because that's such an unlocked market where people don't know what they can do beyond that, but they're not having the conversations. Ask those questions to make sure that you're getting the biggest bang for your buck and you're putting in as much money as you can. Then after we've gone through our retirement plan, then we're going to look at investing in brokerage accounts, so making sure that we can invest in the stock market on our own, and then from there we can get into things that aren't as traditional, right? Real estate. Maybe if you're into cryptocurrency, if you're into other types of assets, look at life insurance as an opportunity. We look at life insurance as protection if somebody dies, but it's also can be used as an investment vehicle as well. And a lot of people don't know that. They don't know the strategies that you can use for life insurance to have that as an investment vehicle. So the goal is to always work on knowledge and increasing your asset. And then when you get done with that, protection. You spend all this time growing your wealth and making sure that you have the assets available. How do you make sure that you maintain that wealth and keep it? Of course, right? PODs. TODs. So if something happens to you, we know where the money goes to. Wills.
Does everyone know what PODs and TODs are?
and transferable on death, right? So we know something happens to you. Where's your money going to go? Making sure we have a will, making sure we have beneficiary forms. I cannot tell you the number of times where we have to go to court because an ex-wife is on a beneficiary form, because a relative that someone doesn't speak to anymore is on a beneficiary form. And 9 times out of 10, the money is going to that individual. Make sure that you're looking at beneficiary forms on all of your assets. And then again, what else can we look at? We can look at trust. We can look at trust and other types of assets to help protect our wealth and grow it.
I want to talk about Black women specifically. You said a lot of the people that you speak with, they get stuck on savings. And what I've noticed is that most of us are 1 or 2 generations into being Black women who have some money. So no one taught us what to do with that money when we got it. I know in my family, my parents gave me great lessons about not spending more than I make and always having something saved. But beyond that, it was like, well, credit's kind of dangerous. You might want to watch it. And that's it. That's where it ended. No one taught me anything about investments. No one taught me anything about insurance. They didn't know to tell me. What are some of the things that you noticed that we as Black women are missing out on when it comes to opportunities to grow our money?
I think the biggest opportunity is sharing knowledge. I think for the most part in our community, we don't like to have conversations about money. We don't like people to know how much we're making. We don't like people to know how much we have saved. And I find it, again, going back to when I would meet with individuals, sometimes I would have a meeting and then I would see a white guy coming in, and then it's another person coming in with him. I'm like, this is a private meeting. He said, no, this is my buddy coming in. I want him to see what I'm invested in. And then he'll pull up his account. We can see his balance. He's like, this is what I invested in. This is what I did. This is how much money I made, because you have to look at that. And he's showing him what to invest in, what to do. And there's no secrecy around that, right? And I remember another time at that particular organization, it was a law firm. I had a gentleman come in later who was an African-American man, and he didn't have anything saved. He came to the meeting just to talk. I told him about the benefits of saving and what he should do, what he should look at, and he said, I'll think about it later. And when he left, I saw him later talking to someone like, hey, did you meet with the retirement person? He's like, oh yeah, I have so much money in there. And I'm like, whoa, buddy. We don't like to share. And I think one thing in our community is having those conversations. Whether if you can't speak with a relative, speak with a financial advisor, speak with someone who is a professional so they can give you that guidance and help you along the way.
Yeah. Another thing that I think is specific to Black women is the role that we play in our families, in our friend groups sometimes, in our communities. We're usually the ones who are gathering the information for everyone else. We're the ones that are holding everybody else down. Oftentimes that money comes right out of our pockets and goes into theirs. What are some of the challenges or the mistakes, if you will, that you tend to see with us that you might be able to help us steer around?
So in most households, right, I'd say I was looking at statistics, 4 out of 5 women are the breadwinner in their household. It's African-American women specifically. They are the breadwinners. And I think that we have the tendency, like when we get to a certain stage, we're like, I feel good, I can relax. And then you want to help other people. But sometimes what I'm saying is it becomes a portion where we're enabling people, right? We're helping them pay bills. We're helping them take care of mortgages. We're helping them take care of notes that we shouldn't be. And we're not educating them. We're just being a pocketbook. And we're not giving them the financial knowledge that they need. And sometimes we don't have the knowledge. We just know we have the money coming in and we can support. But we need to get to a point where we can educate. And if we don't have that education, point them to where they can get the education. And we learn ourselves so that everybody is coming up together, not one person using to support the entire family. Because when something happens to that one individual, what happens?
You said that, over these past 15 years, your focus has been on retirement. I think I still have a few years to go, but what are the things that we can start doing now to make sure, other than, of course, putting aside the money, but the things that we may not be thinking of to make sure that our retirement years are really golden?
Okay. So the first thing that I would say, it starts with your mind and your mindset. Positivity, thinking about wealth, like you are wealthy, like you want to speak that affirmation to yourself. I think it's Henry Ford who says, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're probably right. And my mentor would say that to me all the time. There would be specific situations where I said, I can't do this, I don't know how. He said, okay, well, you're not going to do it, right? And I remember last year when I was meeting with him, if you guys look at the stock market or even check your accounts, whether it's retirement or brokerage accounts, you know that last year was a pretty difficult year. And at the beginning of the year, he said, I'm going to make $1 million this year. And I said, oh, yeah, I know you have several businesses. He said, no, I'm going to make $1 million from trading and investing. And I was like, no, you can't. He said, you think I can't, but I know I can. And I watched him during the year, and we have an open relationship, right? We talk about money because that's how he teaches me. Have these conversations. Do not be afraid to discuss money. So he'll pull up his account, and he made more than double $1 million last year, even when the stock market was going down, right? And he did it, but one, he believed that he could do it, and then he created a plan to do it. So right now, as we are in our good earning years, or we're getting into that point and getting closer to retirement, creating a plan. What do you need to do? Because sometimes we're so focused on just saving. I save 6% or I save 10% or I'm saving the maximum, but we don't have a plan of where we're going. We just know we're putting money into the plan. Create a plan to say, at this point, I want to retire. At this point, I want to have X amount of dollars in the plan. And then have accountability. Have someone that you can speak with to share what your goals are that are going to keep you on track. Like, I know my goals, right? I love working for Manulife. I love the organization. I'm so happy that I'm here. But I don't want to work for Manulife forever. Sorry, Michelle. I don't. Not forever. Like, when I get to the point where my passive income supersedes my active income, I'm gone. Because the goal is freedom and what you can do with your life after you're able to achieve it. 65, 67, 70, whatever number the government tells you need to work to get your Social Security or to get your retirement benefits, that's what they say. What do you say? What are your goals? And you need to focus on that. Sure. Good question. So active income is income that you're working for. So you go to your job, whatever job that is, income that you actually have to labor for. Passive income would be something like investments where you're not putting in physical labor, any type of labor to get that. You have money that's working for you. You're welcome.
And post-retirement, one day we'll all have to leave this stuff behind, whether it's to someone that we love or to an organization that we love, to our churches, to our colleges, to the nonprofits that we love. How do we make sure that the things that we have worked so hard for get passed on so that we can create community wealth and generational wealth?
So we hit on it a little bit, right? So planning, and then planning with your wills, right? So our will, we want to state in there who's the executor of our will, who's going to make sure that this is carried out, or the trustee. Then we have, again, beneficiary forms, right? Making sure that we have those designations and checking that beneficiary every single year to make sure that you know who's on that beneficiary. And then I think in a form of advanced planning, having a trust account set up to make sure that your assets are being passed on to where they need to. And then most importantly, it's about having the conversation, creating the plan and having the conversation. So I have an uncle that said, when I pass, I'm not leaving anything to anyone. I'm spending it all. Just know already, children, you're not getting anything. It's not going to happen. And that was his goal. Like, he's not leaving a dollar behind. And he loved his kids, but he wasn't leaving a dollar behind. And unfortunately, he ended up having health issues and didn't have time to prepare himself and ended up passing, and everything went to his children. And that wasn't his plans. His kids were very happy that they weren't happy that he died. They weren't happy he died, but they were happy that he wasn't able to execute his plan. And it all starts in the planning stage, planning, communicating your goals, and then executing those goals.
Please join me in thanking Yolanda for sharing everything that she has shared today.
Thank you. Thank you.